Welcome back. So, in our last explainer, we made a pretty bold claim that love by itself is not enough to make a marriage work. So when you see today's title, Why Love Is Enough, you might be thinking, wait, what? It sounds like a total contradiction, I know, but let's dive right into that tension.
And look, if you've been married for more than 5 minutes, this question probably hits home. You know that love didn't just magically stop that argument last week. It didn't instantly close that emotional gap when you felt miles apart. And it for sure didn't make the stress about money just disappear. And you know what? You're right. The problem isn't love itself, it's the kind of love we've been sold.
And this, right here, is the heart of the matter. On one hand, you have the love our culture promotes. It's all based on feelings. It's reactive, it's conditional, and really, it's just an indicator of how things are going. But on the other hand, you have the love the scripture commands. And this love is based on a covenant. It's proactive, it's unconditional, and it's not an indicator. It's an anchor. That difference changes everything. All right, so let's dig into this first kind of love, the one we see in movies, the one we hear in pop songs. Modern culture basically treats love like a chemical reaction. It's a spark, it's this intense feeling you fall into. But here's the catch, right? If you can fall into it, you can just as easily fall out of it. I mean, think about it. This feelings-based love, it's totally at the mercy of things that are constantly changing. Your mood, your hormones, whether or not you feel validated, your stress levels. And the big one, whether your partner is living up to your expectations at that exact moment. See, feelings just react. They're indicators, not anchors. And if you build a marriage on that, it's going to be shaky whenever life applies a little pressure.
And this quote just nails the difference. It's about the why. Human love so often says, I love you because of what you do for me, because you make me feel good. But this other kind of love, agape love, it says something totally different. It says, I love you because I made a promise. I made a covenant. It's not a transaction. It's a commitment.
So, what is this agape love really? What does it actually look like day to day? Well, it's not about how fast your heart is beating. It's not some intense emotional high. It's a disciplined commitment. It's a practice. It's something you actively do. And this is so important. Just look at the words here. It never says love feels patient. It doesn't say love feels kind. It says love is patient. Love is kind. It keeps no record of wrongs. These are all action words, verbs. Love in this sense is a behavior long before it's an emotion. You see, most of us have this completely backward. We wait to feel loving before we act in a loving way. And what does that get us? Totally inconsistent behavior. But agape love flips that script. You choose the behavior first. You practice it, you're consistent with it. And you know what? A lot of the time, the emotion follows the action. You actually act your way into the feeling instead of waiting for the feeling to show up. Okay, let's pause here for a second because this next part is a big one. So many marriages don't end because of some huge dramatic act of hatred. No, they slowly die from 1,000 tiny cuts. It's the slow, steady accumulation of disappointments and resentments that never get dealt with. It's like we all have this, a mental shoebox tucked away somewhere. And inside, we keep all the evidence. That sarcastic comment from 3 years ago, the anniversary they forgot, that time they made you feel small or dismissed. Each one by itself might not seem like a big deal, but over the years, that box gets really, really heavy. So what are we even talking about when we say keeping no record of wrongs? Does it mean you get amnesia and just forget everything bad that ever happened? No, of course not. It means you make a conscious choice to not open up that mental shoebox, pull out an old wound, and use it as a weapon in a fight you're having today. It's refusing to use the past as leverage in the present. And that changes everything. Okay, but let's get real for a second, because I know some of you are listening to all this and just thinking, I am so tired. I've been trying to be patient, trying to show grace, and I have nothing left in the tank. I feel empty. And that feeling is 100% real. And here's why that feeling is so real. If you're trying to love someone else out of your own limited supply, you're basically trying to pour from an empty cup. It's just not sustainable. If your spouse is your only source for love, for validation, for feeling okay, well, that's way too much pressure for one person. your emotional bank account will eventually hit zero. This right here shows the paradigm shift we're talking about. On the left, you've got love coming from you. The source is you, or maybe your spouse, and the result is always going to be depletion and burnout. But on the right, the whole game changes. The idea is that love flows through you. The source is God, and the result? Sustainable fullness. You're no longer loving just to get by. You're loving from a place of overflow.
Okay, so now we can circle all the way back to that big question from the beginning. Why is this kind of love, this covenant love, this agape, why is that enough? Because it's the foundation. It's the stable ground where everything else can finally start to grow.
See, agape love doesn't just magically make you a better communicator or a financial genius. That's not how it works. What it does is create the emotional safety where you can mess up while learning to communicate. It creates a space where you can actually heal, where you can forgive, where you can figure out money together and build a real shared purpose.
Let me say that again because it's so important. Love isn't the magic wand that fixes everything. Love is the environment. It's the atmosphere. It's the greenhouse where transformation can actually happen. It's the soil where everything else can finally take root.
And think about what happens when that love, that safety, isn't there. Suddenly, a simple correction feels like a personal attack. A conversation about accountability feels like total rejection. And being vulnerable enough to actually grow, it feels way too unsafe. Love is the foundational ingredient that changes how we experience all of these necessary parts of a relationship. All right, we've gone through a lot of ideas here. So let's just take a moment to bring this home, to make it personal. Let's move from just thinking about these things to really reflecting on them. So I'm just going to ask these out loud, and I want you to honestly think about your own life. First, is my love based on my spouse's performance, or is it based on my covenant? Number 2, where am I still keeping score? What's in that mental shoebox? And finally, am I trying to love from a place of depletion or from a place of fullness? So when it all comes down to it, here's the bottom line. Emotional love will always go up and down. It just will. But covenant love stabilizes things. It's the anchor when the waves of emotion are crashing. So we have to completely change how we think about love. This kind of committed covenant love is not weak. It's not naive. It's not a fluffy, optional extra. It is strong, it is wise, and it is absolutely foundational. Because at the end of the day, a marriage that lasts, it isn't built on the shifting sand of just feelings. It's built on the solid rock of anchored covenant love. So the question I want to leave you with is a simple one. Are you building on sand, or are you building on rock?
And in our next episode, we will bring both truths together. Love is essential, but love must work with wisdom, healing, boundaries, and shared direction. Because a mature marriage is not built on emotion alone. It is built on anchored love.